From unexplained wealth and elite connections to criminal charges, sealed records, and global controversy, this is the full story, from beginning to end. Early life and rise to wealth. Jeffrey Epstein was born in 1953 in Brooklyn, New York. He grew up in a middle-class family and did not come from established power or generational wealth. After a brief period teaching mathematics at a private school in Manhattan, he moved into finance in the late 1970s. Despite not having completed a college degree, Epstein quickly positioned himself in elite financial circles. By the 1980s, he claimed to manage assets for billionaires and high-net-worth individuals. Yet even years later, journalists and investigators struggled to clearly define the source of his fortune. His business model was often described as opaque. There were few public records explaining exactly how he built or sustained his wealth. Epstein cultivated an image of exclusivity. He entertained scientists, politicians, academics, and celebrities at his various properties, including a mansion in Manhattan, an estate in Palm Beach, a ranch in New Mexico, and a private island in the United States Virgin Islands. That private island would later become one of the most infamous locations associated with his name. The first investigation in Palm Beach in 2005, the case took a dramatic turn. A parent in Palm Beach reported that their teenage daughter had been paid to give Epstein a massage. The allegations suggested that what began as a massage quickly became sexual in nature. The Palm Beach Police Department launched an investigation. Detectives interviewed multiple girls who described a similar pattern. They were recruited, paid hundreds of dollars, and sometimes encouraged to recruit other underage girls in exchange for more money. Police gathered evidence suggesting a structured system of recruitment and payments. The investigation was eventually referred to federal authorities, including the Federal Bureau of Investigation. By 2007, federal prosecutors had prepared a potential indictment that could have resulted in severe sex trafficking charges and a lengthy prison sentence. But instead of going to trial, a controversial agreement was reached. The 2008 Non-Prosecution Agreement. In 2008, Epstein entered into a non-prosecution agreement with the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of Florida. Rather than facing federal charges, Epstein pleaded guilty in state court to lesser offenses related to soliciting prostitution. He received an 18-month sentence but ultimately served about 13 months in a county jail. He was granted work release privileges, allowing him to leave the jail for extended hours during the day. Perhaps most controversially, the agreement included immunity for potential co-conspirators. Many victims later said they were not informed of the deal before it was finalized, a key issue that led to years of legal challenges. The plea deal would later become a focal point of national outrage, raising serious questions about prosecutorial discretion and the influence of wealth and power. High-profile connections and flight logs. As public scrutiny grew, attention turned to Epstein's connections. He had socialized with influential individuals across politics, business, academia, and even royalty. His private jet flight logs, later made public through court filings, listed numerous prominent passengers over the years. It is important to clarify, appearing in flight logs or contact books does not, by itself, prove involvement in criminal activity. Many names surfaced simply because Epstein had positioned himself within elite social circles. However, the scope of those connections intensified public interest in what became broadly labeled the Epstein files, documents containing depositions, emails, witness statements, and travel records. Ghislaine Maxwell's role. Central to many allegations was Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's longtime associate. Accusers alleged that Maxwell played a key role in recruiting and grooming underage girls. According to testimony, she helped normalize the environment, build trust with victims, and facilitated introductions to Epstein. For years, Maxwell denied wrongdoing and remained largely out of public view as lawsuits progressed. Her name appeared repeatedly in civil litigation brought by survivors seeking accountability. Renewed reporting and federal charges in 2019 and 2018 and 2019, investigative reporting reignited national attention on the case. Journalists questioned how Epstein had avoided significant federal consequences in 2008. In July 2019, Epstein was arrested at a New Jersey airport and charged with federal sex trafficking crimes by the United States Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York. Prosecutors alleged that he operated a trafficking scheme between 2002 and 2005 involving dozens of minors in New York and Florida. He pleaded not guilty and was denied bail, deemed a flight risk due to his wealth and access to private aircraft. He was held at the Metropolitan Correctional Center, New York while awaiting trial. Epstein's death and public reaction. On August 10, 2019, Epstein was found unresponsive in his jail cell. Authorities ruled the death a suicide by hanging. The announcement triggered immediate controversy. Questions arose about security procedures, surveillance cameras, and guard staffing. Multiple investigations reviewed the circumstances of his death. Despite official findings, public skepticism persisted. For many victims, Epstein's death meant that a public trial, and potentially more revelations, would never occur. Unsealing of court records. Following Epstein's death, attention turned to civil litigation and previously sealed documents. Thousands of pages of court filings were gradually unsealed by the United States District Court for the Southern District of New York. These documents included depositions, witness statements, email exchanges, and references to high-profile individuals. Again, many names mentioned were not charged with crimes. Inclusion in documents often reflected social contact, not criminal wrongdoing. Still, the scale of the records deepened public fascination and concern. The phrase Epstein files became shorthand for this vast collection of material, a paper trail detailing years of allegations, investigations, and legal battles. Maxwell's arrest and trial. In 2020, Ghislaine Maxwell was arrested and charged with federal crimes tied to the recruitment and abuse of minors. In 2021, after a high-profile trial, she was convicted on multiple counts, including sex trafficking conspiracy. She was sentenced to 20 years in federal prison. Her conviction represented a measure of accountability in a case that many feared would end without consequences after Epstein's death. Financial institutions and settlements. The aftermath extended beyond individuals. Banks and financial institutions faced lawsuits alleging they failed to properly monitor Epstein's accounts despite warning signs. Several institutions reached substantial settlements without admitting wrongdoing. Epstein's estate established a compensation fund for victims, distributing significant financial settlements to hundreds of claimants. His properties, including the private island, were eventually sold. Broader impact on society. The Epstein case reshaped conversations around power, privilege, and accountability. It highlighted how systems can fail when wealth and influence intersect with criminal allegations. It also amplified discussions about sex trafficking, victim advocacy, and the need for transparency within legal systems. Lawmakers proposed reforms related to non-prosecution agreements and victims' rights notifications. Journalists, legal experts, and the public continue to examine how the 2008 deal occurred, and whether similar agreements still exist. Lingering questions. Even years later, several questions remain. How exactly did Epstein generate and maintain his fortune? Were there additional enablers who have not been charged? Why were warning signs missed or dismissed for so long? Will additional sealed materials ever become public? The answers to some of these questions may never be fully known. The human side of the story. At the center of the Epstein files are not just names and documents, but survivors. Many victims have spoken publicly about the long-term trauma they endured. Some have become advocates for stronger protections against exploitation. Their persistence led to renewed investigations and the unsealing of key records. Without their efforts, much of what is known today might have remained hidden. Conclusion. The story of Jeffrey Epstein is not simply about one man. It is about systems of influence, legal decisions, institutional accountability, and the resilience of survivors. The Epstein files, thousands of pages of evidence, testimony, and legal argument, serve as a record of how power can obscure justice, but also how persistent scrutiny can bring hidden truths to light. While many aspects of the case have been revealed, its full impact is still unfolding. The scandal shook governments, financial institutions, and elite circles around the world. And it remains one of the most consequential criminal cases of the 21st century, a reminder that transparency, accountability, and justice must apply to everyone, regardless of wealth or status.